Welcome to Attention Retention with Jackie McManus, your source for the latest trends in transportation recruitment and retention.
Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of Attention Retention. I'm your host, Jackie McManus, CEO and founder of KJ Media. We're a recruitment marketing agency specializing in talent acquisition, optimizing hiring process, and driving efficiency to help grow your workforce. On this show, we dive into the world of the three most important R's: recruitment, retention, and recognition, by interviewing industry leaders and experts as we unpack strategies, challenges, and successes surrounding these three crucial aspects of workforce development. And this week, I am absolutely so excited to have the team from Rush Expediting joining me today. We have Ashley, President. We have Gordon, who's Talent Acquisition Specialist. And we have Casie Lord, HR Manager from Rush Expediting. Thank you three so much for joining me today.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So Rush Expediting, you guys have, over 30 years of experience in the industry, founded in 1981, being a full service transportation logistics firm, really with a mission of delivering excellence. And that's something that's really admirable and challenging to do. But more importantly, you guys really focus on exceptional service and a commitment to safety, meaning safety to your drivers, which then results with your customers, and have a selective recruitment process and hiring process that ensures that you guys hire drivers who provide the best and safest service to your customers. And that's no easy task. So I'm so excited to have you three on today and dive into the three R's. But before we go there, I'd love for each of you to introduce yourself to the audience and a quick background on who you are and how you became to where your respective titles are at Rush Expediting. Gordon, let's start with you.
Sure. My background is really truck driving. I started driving in 1994, graduated truck driving school from American Training Center in Nashville, Tennessee. Not sure that place is in existence anymore. It's been a long time, right?
It's Bachelorette City right now, I can tell you that. It's mini Vegas.
Yeah. Spent about 20 years behind the wheel, 10 years in various other jobs throughout the transportation industry, a little accounts payable, a little test and research, and then found my home here at Rush Expediting as their recruiter. Talent Acquisition Specialist is an awesome title, but let's just be real. I'm the recruiter, right?
Mm-hmm. It puts a nice little high-end spin to it for sure.
It does.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to kick it over to you, Ashley, as president, founder, owner of the company. Would love to hear your background and your story into where you sit today.
Yeah, sure. I was born into this, which, once it gets in your blood in transportation, you sink your teeth in and you're not getting out if you're into it. So, and that's how it was for me. And I am second generation. My dad started the business. It's great to have him by my side. He still certainly is involved in the business today. But I joined the team about 13 years ago, and it's been nothing but fun since, right? With a few heartaches, because that's transportation too. So we're growing the business here in the Midwest region and looking to deliver on that excellence safely every day.
I love that. And I think you hit it right on the head once it's in your blood. And I didn't come from a family in the industry, but I started in the industry in 2008. And once I was like trucking, it wasn't something that was talked about in high school or in college. It, usually it was finance or business. And I was fortunate enough to work for a truck driver staffing agency. And as week one, played roles in dispatcher, recruiter, sales, and I got bit by the bug. I think that's and now it's in my blood, and I hope to pass that down to future generations because it's such a incredible industry that's essential to our economy.
Absolutely. It's just such a vital role that we're playing and that you're passing along through this great podcast I spent time at a 3PL before coming on at Rush, and it gives that really well balanced perspective of, to your point, how we're moving America, and we have a lot to do with that here in transportation. So it's awesome.
It's awesome, and I feel like in 2020 is really when our industry started getting just notoriety on these public platforms, NBC, the news. And I remember I had some friends that called me, didn't really understand why I was in the trucking industry. And they said, okay, now I get it. Right. So that's definitely the goal of this podcast, is to showcase the industry and share what we do here in the industry to bring more folks in. So with that being said, Casie, I would love to hear about you, your background. Please share that with the audience.
You bet. So my name is Casie Lord. I've been with Rush for a little over 3 years now as the human resources manager. I have a background in HR, been in this industry as far as human resources for over 25 years. I've had experience in all different kinds of industry. I worked in the government for many, many years, graphic design, private sector, public sector. My previous role was more of an apples to oranges with trucking. So it dealt with remote technicians, right? They were out on the road, and we had dispatch and all that good stuff. But I really think that I found my niche, if you will, in trucking. And just to echo what you both have said, I love the drivers. They are my battery rechargers, right? When I'm having a not so great day, I am down in the warehouse talking to them as they're coming in, and they just make my day. So I love what I do here, and I love helping. I know that that's so cliche for an HR person to say, but I'm a people-y person. So I love helping make their job just a little bit easier every day.
And I love that you said the drivers are your battery recharger.
They are.
That's not something I've heard often, but that's incredible. That's the value and how you perceive them, right? That statement alone showcases a lot just about how Rush values their drivers across.
I think it's a great segue too, because I think that that's really what we are to our drivers, right? That's why they like working here.
Mm-hmm.
We see them as people, not as a driver number, not as an asset, right? They're people.
Yeah.
And so we want them to know that they're as important as anybody else that is here.
Absolutely. And, as the HR manager, you are at the forefront of shaping Rush's workforce. So I'd like to kick off with our first R, which is recruitment. What have you found to be some of the most successful approaches to attracting and retaining drivers in today's market?
Absolutely. It's a great question. And from the very beginning, Rush has always had a really personal approach to recruitment. There are so many posting and praying jobs that are out there, right? You're going to throw it up on a job board and kind of forget about it. But Rush really does try to get to the heart of what separates us maybe from some of your bigger carriers, right? Some of your national or LTL carriers. So we put a lot of stock in talking to our current drivers and finding out what's working, what needs to improve a little bit more. What do you like about Rush? What do you wish that we were doing? We do a lot of walk-ins, believe it or not. We have, the 3 locations. We're headquartered out of Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah.
We have 2 terminals down in Cincinnati, and we have 1 in Columbus. And every single one of our terminals is set up with a kiosk. So when people are coming in and want to know more about Rush, they can instantly get online, learn about what opportunities are out there. Our terminal managers are coming out and talking with them, finding out how much you want to make, what do you want to drive, what's your experience, just trying to make that personal connection from the very beginning. Because as you know, the transportation industry is pretty cutthroat when it comes to retention and turnover, and you see a lot of drivers moving from one company to another. And so we don't want that to happen here at Rush. We enjoy a really nice retention with our CDL employee drivers. They have an average of 9 years of experience.
That's
some have way more, some have less, of course, but they truly do love it when they get in and catch the vibe of what we're trying to do here.
Some other things that we do, having that connection with our current workforce and our drivers. Referrals make up a huge percentage of the drivers that come through. We just recently looked at the stats, and over the last 12 months, at least 20% of our new hires have come from driver referrals.
Is that right?
That is right. Yeah.
Congratulations. That's an unbelievable testament to practicing what you preach.
Absolutely, for sure. And, we do have an incentive program for referrals like most companies as well, financially. But when I talk to drivers about who they're bringing on, their friend, their cousin, whatever, they're telling them how much they love Rush and what they like about it, right? And the one thing that I was talking with Ashley about yesterday that I thought was really important too is, in so many companies, when you see the boss or the president or the owner coming in and walking through your department, most people are like, heads down, right? Our drivers are making a beeline to go talk to her, go talk to me, talk to any of the managers, Gordo. I can't believe I just called you Gordo.
I love it. I was like,
it's all good.
Wrong, but that we're going to go with Gordo. Yeah.
Totally awesome. But we have that personal touch. And I really do think that makes the difference for us. When we have hard to fill positions too, we do use a couple of tricks out of the old magician hat, right? Job fairs are something that we're looking to get into more as we progress into summer, right? Mm-hmm. And especially in our Columbus and Cincinnati markets, where we have a little bit more competitive market, we really want to show the market what we're all about, right? So that face-to-face is where we succeed. And so those are the steps that we're taking to make a more successful recruiting effort.
That's, I think, a couple like really incredible things that you said. With, first of all, 20% of driver referrals, that's huge. And, even with a monetary value that's associated to it, which it should be, right? Drivers, bottom line, are honest. So they're not going to refer a company if they don't believe it, if it's their real brother or their cousin. So with or without the bonus structure, like, drivers are probably the most salt of the earth, honest folks out there. And so that is an incredible testament. And flipping back to what you said earlier, when I asked the initial question, talking to your drivers and understanding what's working, what's not working, and bringing that into the front end of the recruiting process is a really smart strategy in recruitment, because you're, able to identify, first of all, what's in it for the driver. Does it make sense for them? Have an honest conversation. And, with our clients in the trucking world, we truly believe that give the driver all the facts in the beginning. Give them the good, give them the bad, give them the ugly. It's trucking, right? It's any industry. There's pros and cons of a lot of things. But if you can have that upfront conversation that is honest from the get-go, it sets the stage day one. Versus, as a lot of companies out there, butts and seats. Right. And while I get it, because there's reasons around doing that, in the long run, they typically have the highest turnover rate.
Correct. So I'm super proud of too, and you just mentioned it, turnover rate. Rush is about 40% of what the national average is for our turnover rate, right?
That's incredible.
And that speaks volumes to us, that we're doing the right thing. And how can we fine tune it to make it even better?
How can you fine tune it? And that leads me to my next question for you, Gordo. It's sticking.
I love it.
With so many available options to drivers in today's market, how do you go about differentiating Rush to make it stand out as an attractive employer to drivers in today's market?
Yeah, absolutely. One, we're a home daily company, right? I know there's a lot of companies out there that are, but 99% of our drivers are home daily. We do have some drivers that, and some runs that require a layover, but for the most part, our owner operators do take those. And we have not only employee drivers here, but we do also have an owner operator driving force here as well. But they, they for the most part choose to take those. In fact, all of our employees drive day cabs here.
Is that right?
Well,
Okay.
I take that back. We have one or two employees that do drive sleeper trucks.
Mhm.
Well, for the most part, even those guys are home daily. We do have one driver here that does take some overnight runs for us, but that's what he likes to do.
Right.
So that's what we.
So that's an interesting point. That's finding out what that driver likes to do from the beginning instead of,
Absolutely.
forcing that type of situation. So it's a win-win.
Right, and I'm glad you mentioned that. That's another point that I wanted to make is that our dispatchers do a great job. Now, I know coming 20 years in truck driving, right? Not every driver loves his or her dispatcher, right?
We know that.
So just keeping it real here, but I do have to brag on our dispatch team, our CDL and courier dispatchers alike. They do honestly care about, within the confines of keeping the business going, right, and servicing our customers. They do care about our drivers' schedule, what they're looking for. Are you looking for our daytime? Are you looking for more of a second shift? Although we don't run shifts here at Rush, it really doesn't fit into what we do here. But they try to find out what's your family life like? Do you have kids that you have to pick up after school? Are you looking for early morning? Are you looking for later morning? And they try to work that. They try to work around that as best as they can,
Okay.
keeping in mind what our customers' needs are as well.
Absolutely.
We're a mid-sized second generation family-owned company, right? We're not a JB, we're not a Schneider, we're not any of those guys. So we're small enough to have good lanes to run, right? Or big enough to have good lanes to run, small enough to still have that family, that team atmosphere here. And that's what we tried to build, from day one, is to build a team atmosphere, not only with our admin personnel, all the way to our courier drivers, our employee drivers, our owner operators. We start that from orientation. We have a 1-day orientation here at our headquarters in Dayton, Ohio.
That's perfect time. Yeah, 1 day. Some orientations could be multi.
Absolutely. And you would be surprised how many times I hear that guys come in, or I talk to them on the phone. I invite them to orientation. They're like, okay, how many days is this? I'm like, 1 day, about 5-6 hours at the most, quick and dirty.
Yeah, we buy lunch. We give you gifts. It's all good.
Absolutely. We buy lunch, give them goodies, brush swag,
Good.
and all that stuff.
Represent.
All our drivers are required to wear a Rush shirt or a hat or something that shows who they drive for. Even our couriers, all the way up to our commercial drivers, are required to wear Rush logo wear. And we provide that right in orientation. After orientation, they get their bag of goodies, and we send them on to the next step in the process to get them on the road and making money and enjoying their career here.
I think that's really important. This swag. I mean, we all love free swag. Who doesn't? But it's kind of twofolds in my mind. First and foremost, the drivers feel appreciated, of course, and they get that team, right? You think about if you guys played sports when you were younger, even if it was like Little League, having that T-shirt or having that sense of unity, that team that represented, this is what I'm part of, is really important. I think, in a hat, right? Some people would be like, it's just a hat, but the hat represents so much more, in my opinion. It really does. And then secondly, the drivers are out there on the road. They're stopping at the truck stops. And so if they're talking to other drivers, oh, who's Rush? What do they do? Oh, how do you like it there? Right. So it makes it more of a, an opportunity to showcase your brand, and these drivers with your 20% referral rate, find your drivers.
Those are counted in there too, because you wouldn't believe how many drivers we brought through orientation, and they're like, we ask them, hey, how did you find out about Rush? I was down at Love's and I saw one of your guys and I went up talking to him.
Is that right?
How much you liked working here, and told me I should apply. So here I am. And so that's also what we love. Those uniforms are great swag wise, but we also want it for the customer service side too.
Absolutely.
We want our customers to see clean trucks pulling up with guys dressed very nicely in their uniforms, clean cut, and representing Rush in the best possible way.
I often compare, especially as, technology advances and automation, trucks are somewhere in our lifetime, potentially, the truck driver job to a pilot. And as things advance with technology, but a pilot wears a suit. They're clean cut. They represent their brand, Delta, United, and it brings a different level of sophistication to the position. And in part of our goals here are to get the driver branded identity escalated, because when folks think about drivers, it's typically a poor representation. Either they got cut off or sloppy. And so I think, companies that are instilling that with their drivers, it's really important. And then it's a win-win, because it also plays into your customer service, which you guys excel at.
Right. Drivers not only want, money is a big part of it, right? But what everybody, every human wants to do is feel like they're a part of something.
Yes. Right.
That to fill that need of being part of something. And that's what we try to do here at Rush. We salary wise, we've had two base pay increases in the past 2 years. We're at $26 an hour right now for a Class A CDL driver. That's competitive with, if you look at the numbers, that's competitive with most all of the market out there, all of the industry. We can't compete with the LTLs out there, but we're not trying to, right? So it is about the money, but it's also that feeling of being a part of a team, being part of something. Like Casie was talking about, and you were talking about accomplishing, knowing that you are delivering the nation's goods out there. You're putting the food literally on people's shelves. You are bringing the TVs that they watch at night with their family. We're delivering those. Everything that you have in your home, it at some point was on a truck being delivered by a truck driver.
Sure. Spot on. And, we have a driver community that we've built. We have 250,000 drivers, and it's growing, and we survey them. And we ask them, what maybe attracted them to a company? Was it, where did they find the company? And also, why did they maybe leave a company? What are the reasonings that they're maybe looking at other opportunities while they're with their current employer? And, while money is a motivator, absolutely, what we've found is that these drivers, maybe the grass looks a little greener on the other side. Maybe it's a couple cents per mile or $1 more an hour. They may jump, but they come back to the company that treated them like a team member, because, they had a relationship with dispatch. They had a relationship with Ashley. And I think that is really important to build that from the beginning, because that's where you get a better retention rate across the board, which is into retention. Ashley, as the president, second generation, you understand the importance of communication and making that a two-way relationship. So what approaches have you found to be successful in retaining your workforce over time?
Yeah, well, again, we have a lot of things that we're really fortunate about here at Rush, that we've got a great team behind us, right? That are here, and we recognize that our mission is to deliver on time for the customer every day. And it takes everybody to do that. And what we're really trying to do is provide a home for them here and meet them where they're at. Right? So when we bring in a driver, he may be looking for something specifically. starting really early because he needs to get kids off the bus, like Gordon said, or he may want to start really late, something along those lines, right? Or they've got appointments that they want to work with, right? We're trying to meet that driver where they're at and provide that flexibility for them, and then revisiting that. Our dispatch team spends a lot of time talking with those drivers so that we can constantly reshuffle the deck, we'll call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And say, how can we meet that driver where he's at now? Because that's probably different than where he was at a year ago or 2 years ago.
That's a fabulous point.
Having those conversations with them. Again, I say we've got a lot of things going for us. We get the opportunity to see those drivers almost every day, or at least a couple times a week. So you get to know them and their personalities, their highs and their highs and their lowest of lows, right? And meeting them in that moment, right? If they've got something going on personally and we can be there to support them in some way and shift their job responsibilities around, let's do that, right? Because that's how you keep people engaged with their employer, when you are engaging with them personally on that level as well. And then, continuous corporate communication, right? Whether it be we see them out in the warehouse at the end of the day, I see them in the parking a lot. That's probably the best spot you can hang out around 4 or 5 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Learn the most.
Probably get a good story
about your drivers, about what's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
I say that's the best spot to
Friday at 5 o'clock. It's probably a good time.
Yeah, exactly. But that continuous communication and keeping those lines of communication open with them, to be approachable. And I don't just, I mean that a dispatcher can step away from their desk to be approachable. That if they have a friend they want to refer, that Gordon is approachable for them to talk to about it, right? We want that this place to feel like a second home, that they can have those conversations. So that goes a long way in keeping your team happy, no matter their role. So we want to know about what's going on. We want to stay engaged on a deeper level with them. This isn't just dispatching jobs to a driver number, right? You engage people in their lives and you know what's going on.
That could be a name of my next blog article.
Yeah.
I will quote you on that. That is so well said. And something you brought up, it's a soft leadership skill, but it's something that I think, let's talk more about that. Being approachable. Mm-hmm. It's not often discussed. We all know in the back of our heads that, of course, we want to be approachable. But I have to say, we've had about 40 podcasts with leaders in the space, and that word hasn't been brought up. And so I really respect the fact that, it stems from the top, right? It always does in every organization. How do you be approachable? I mean, what, it's kind of, I guess having a smile and being, going down to the parking lot and, but folks that want to learn that soft skills, any advice you have for them? Because I think that's a really, really important character trait.
Yeah. And we do this, and it's a great thing, but, it's a very, I say it and it's kind of outdated, but you have an open door policy.
Yep. Yeah.
And when someone comes to your door, you make the time, right? You just do that. You see it a lot now, people with their phones, right? If your head is in your phone, whoever else is in the room doesn't matter. But if you put that phone down and you give them your attention, you are 10 times more approachable. Same goes when someone comes to your office. If you're on your computer and you're in your email, you are not approachable. But if you put that down and you turn and you're facing and you're engaging in that conversation,
eye contact,
immediately giving them the time, right? It's just being present in where you are. I think we all hear that. Can you do it? And the harder and harder you push on that, the more successful you can be in being approachable.
I think I agree. Like even the phone, we're all addicted to it. We all have it. And I remember one of my first jobs, there were two brothers that owned the company, and there was one that every time I came into his office to discuss a matter, he would literally put his phone upside down, turn his chair, and look at me. The other brother didn't do that great of a job at that, but I know which brother to go to if I wanted to get things done or to air some situations that are going on. But even just I always remember, and I taken that into my team too. Take that phone, just put it upside down for a minute, and just look at them to stop the overly communication that we get through email and phone and text. And I think that's a really an easy step to implement quickly to keep that going. Another thing you said was about the dispatchers. I think that's a really strong point, is the dispatchers nurturing the relationship. And a driver that may have joined you 3 years ago, their situation has changed, and kind of leads me to my next question. And Casie, I'm going to keep this to you around professional development, career growth opportunities. There's a big role the dispatchers play in that, from what I'm understanding, because they're learning what's going on, understanding the dynamics of the driver and their family life and what's important to them. So could you share some opportunities and maybe some success stories of folks that have grown at your company?
Absolutely. We've got a lot. And, like most companies, we like to promote from within, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we have people that I coined this silly hashtag, if you will, when I first started, and it's bleed green or go home, right? And I actually coined that after talking with our CDL dispatch lead. He has a real passion for Rush, and so that's where that came from. But to get into that, so it's important for us to develop our drivers and other people that are working at Rush to find out, one, what are your aspirations, right? What are your strengths? What are some things that we can help you work on to develop a little bit more in that area? And one thing that we do is the communication, which I think is huge, but we also recognize people, especially our drivers, that are just killing it, right? That are just knocking it out of the park every single day. And, being a smaller company, we need to lean on those people that love what they do, that do it really well, are super safe, they're professional, they really embrace our core values, right?
Mm-hmm.
We turn them into driver trainers, right? So when our new drivers are coming in and they're doing ride-alongs, guess what? They're getting partnered now with a new driver trainer, right? So that makes our current drivers feel empowered, that we trust them, that we want to send our baby new Rushington drivers with them, right? Yeah. To learn the ropes and the ins and outs, to have that good relationship where, they've already made a relationship with Gordon through the recruitment process. They've been working with our safety director. And now they have someone that's in the trenches with them, running freight every day too. Mm-hmm. So it's really important for us to have a good team of driver trainers. Also, we've moved drivers that expressed an interest in coming in off the road. Gordon shared his experience, but we have several. We had, just thinking back in the back of my head here, we had a courier who had his own business. He also had a CDLV, right? But he wanted to go back to driving box trucks. So we put him with a driver trainer, and we set up a training development program for him so that he could get back up to speed and use his class Bs, right? And then run freight for us in a box truck. We've had drivers come into the warehouse, work in the warehouse and be really successful. Our current Dayton warehouse manager started as a driver for us. And now he's in charge of a 30,000 square foot warehouse.
Fantastic. I mean, that's proof of the pudding right there. Yeah, absolutely.
We've got another driver that was an owner operator that expressed an interest in coming off the road. And now she's a CDL dispatcher for us and making Our driver's super happy, and she's great at what she does because she has that background as a driver.
Right.
Dispatchers are moving to our terminal manager positions. One, our field ops manager right now, who's over all drivers, all terminals in the Rush family. He started as a CDL dispatcher with us, right? Then he moved to the Dayton terminal manager position, and now he's over our entire operations team. So there's so many opportunities for people, whether you're an admin on the front office side or you're a driver. As Rush grows and shifts and really just changes, I like to say we're going to rule the world. Positions
World domination. I say that about
go
KJ Media too. Yeah.
Yes. We've had a great line of success stories, and we are looking for the next best too, right? So as we grow, we want to look internally first and make sure that we're providing the development and training that our folks need to hit those positions with experience.
Yeah, and it comes down to communication and understanding where people are at and what they're looking to achieve, and seeing how you can support that by still providing the level of excellence that you do to your customers, that keeps the lights on and everyone employed. But simultaneously, you're really balancing to see who would be a good fit for potential other opportunities. And like you said, folks that had a experience a CDL and now they're a dispatcher, that's typically some of the best employees you could have because they understand it, especially if they've done it. So,
and they get the drivers, and the drivers can't push back too much because they've lived it, and they're just like, come on, right?
Yeah.
We've got a lot of great talent here, and it makes it just a pleasure to be here.
Let's talk about recognition. A lot of incredible things going on there with team atmosphere. It does, there was a survey we did with our drivers, and the number 2 reason why drivers stayed with companies, besides for it was home time, was praise and appreciation. And so, as we all get older, and as we were joking about before the podcast with our pros lines and all that, 11 lines, but the next generation specifically, they are really, really about company culture. They're about appreciation. They're about praise and recognition. Ashley, could you share some, tactics that you guys utilize to lead that through the organization?
Yeah. I mean, gosh, you always are trying different things to see what sticks and what drivers are most excited about. But Rush is constantly looking for ways to just bring the drivers in, bring them around the mission here, and make them a part of it, right? So driving out there on the road all day can be really isolating. So when they see somebody, you want to talk to them. You want to make sure that you're communicating, right? And know their name, not just their number, right? Yes. Make it a community. It's not driver, 426,
right?
It's Kevin,
right?
But that's who that is. Mm-hmm. So really making sure that you're doing that with those drivers, and we're trying to recognize them definitely through safety awards twice a year. We have a really awesome safety program, and they're getting ready to come up here in June, and we recognize them not only for their safety in the truck, but also how they are working with our customers and the dispatch team. We have a really fun little program. You can get a Rush Buck, get a Rush Buck, put it into the drawing, and they're winning lots of prizes, TVs and gift cards and family getaway packages and things. So trying to do some fun things like that to recognize drivers and to give them something to be excited about. We recently were in the path of totality for the solar eclipse, right? So
yes,
always maintaining a focus on safety, but we gave away little safety, stay safe for the solar eclipse bags, right, for the day with glass.
I love that. That is so fun.
Your tagline was "Nothing eclipses safety."
Is that right? How fun!
We had eclipse gum and moon pies to eat, and some fun little things in those bags to give to everybody, right? just things that bring it home. We're doing cookouts in the summer, fire up the grill at the warehouse because everyone wants a hot dog when they come in.
I do too. I mean, I would too. Who doesn't want a hot dog? Yeah. Personal favorite.
Yeah. Doing some things like that have really created a community here. Being a part of those, both the office team and the driving team coming together as one really creates a shared respect for everybody and for the challenges that we can all face in our jobs, right? Not just drivers, but in the ops world as well. So everyone can kind of get a flavor of that when you come together around a hot dog or something.
Come together all around a hot dog. I mean, that's a slogan right there. That's the next email message communication to your drivers. I mean, I might be showing up, but and I think that's really important. There's abundance of ways to recognize drivers, and I often say to folks in the industry, we have Driver Appreciation Week, right? That's just 1 week out of the year. There's 51 other weeks out of the year too. So it needs to be a consistent message that is brought to the team on a daily, weekly basis where it deserves it. And the power of a thank you really goes a long way. I mean, there's, so many gifts and raffles and fun stuff like that you can do, but the genuine, authenticity in saying thank you to a driver, it goes far. You're recognizing them. And I think that's a big piece that the Rush community has made as a forefront priority.
I think we're missing one new one. So Gordon has recently pulled together a lot of our stakeholders, if you will, for our driver engagement.
Oh, okay.
And we all came up with ideas on how to improve on our thank yous and our appreciation for them. And so we've taken a lot of things into consideration, including writing personal notes, right?
I love that.
Drivers, and we each take a little bit out of our
handwritten.
We write them a handwritten letter and say, I appreciate you for this, right? And it seems a little dated, but who does not like getting a letter like that, right?
We don't get letters like that anymore.
Yeah.
We don't.
Yeah.
So it's outdated, but it's now, that it's in, right?
Yeah, it's in, right?
Yeah.
And we get great emails about so many drivers from customers and things. And we have like a brag board where we'll put it up there in the warehouse so that, that everyone can see it. But what if it was at your house? What if your family got to see it, right?
Yeah.
Like that really takes it home for you.
I think that's huge because you're not just retaining your drivers, you're also, it's their families, right? Their wives, their husbands, their kids. So them seeing, a personalized thank you. I absolutely love that you guys are doing that. I still do handwritten thank yous myself to our customers and vendors, and it goes a long way, even though it seems outdated, but it's just, you're not getting those anymore. Now you're just getting emails from folks. So I love that. So as we start to wrap up here, we've heard incredible things around what you guys do at Rush, but the community, I would say is in the team atmosphere, which is essential in today's market and the future market, and people want to feel a part of something and be a part of something and grow. But Gordon, I'm gonna just ask you, if I was a driver, why should I consider a career besides for all the amazing things that we spoke about at Rush?
Right. Well, I mean, long story short, I can wrap it up in one sentence: we're competitive with pay and we care, right? I mean, I think I may make that my recruiting slogan from now on, actually.
You should. That is awesome.
But I mean, really, in my background as a driver, if I'd run into a Rush driver years ago at the Love, the TA, the Pilot, the Flying J, whichever place I was fueling at, and started talking to him, and he said, "Hey, you need to check this company out in Dayton." They pay competitively. They've got cool swag. Check my shirt out. Check my hat out. Their team atmosphere. The owners. The founder comes in at orientation and speaks to you. The president of the company comes in and speaks to you at orientation. Man, you have got to check this place out. Their equipment, that we drive great equipment. 7 years old or less, actually.
Awesome.
Most of it is less than 7 years old. Well maintained. Rarely have a breakdown on the side of the road. Man, you have got to check this place out. I would before I got back to the truck, I would be dialing the number on my phone, right? So, yeah, I mean, any driver that's looking for someplace that truly does care, and I've been a few places in my 30 years of transportation experience. Mm-hmm. But, any place that will upfront ask you, what do you need? What is your life require you to do at this point? How can we help you with that at the same time while you're helping us grow this business? I mean, hands down, I probably would have been a driver here a long time ago and then work my way up through the ranks, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid as the driver recruiter, then who is?
Mm-hmm. And that's a testament. You were a driver. You have, decades of experience in the industry, and have probably been at different size companies. But you having that experience is exactly why drivers, will respond and take your messaging, at heart, because you've done it, you did it, and now you're, talent acquisition, which is incredible. And that's also such a great roadmap for a driver, and I often recommend, college isn't for everyone, right? It really, it just is, it's not, and that's okay. Get your CDL. You may have to be with one of these bigger companies and, get your years of experience up, but then find a family-owned, team-oriented company to work for. Yeah. And see what opportunities are available outside of driving. I'd say probably about 50% of our clients, and they range in sizes from 200 drivers to 1,500 to some of the enterprise clients. But the clients that have some of the most impressive recruiting, retention, recognition programs, the CEO was a driver and still actively holds their CDL. And I think there's a testament to that for sure, because you understand what it's like to be out there every day. So for all drivers, we are going to have down here on the show notes, we're going to have a link to Rush's website to learn more about them and a link to apply. Ashley, Gordon, Casie, thank you so much for joining us today. It has been, I feel like we could talk for hours with all the great stuff that you guys do over there. And we're so grateful to have you on and excited to share the good word with our community of drivers and also other leaders in the space. So I want to thank you guys so much for being on, and thank you to our listeners for listening in. And remember that the road to success begins with effective recruitment, thoughtful retention, and genuine recognition. Feel free to share this knowledge with your peers, industry colleagues. Your sharing can make a difference. Together, we can empower the industry to thrive. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you, 3, and until next time.